Artists, when you're ready to watercolor, there's a handful of things that you need to know to set up your workspace. The first thing is to get a paint mat and set it on your table. Paint mats can be found on the drying rack. Next, go to the sink and get a pet bowl. Turn it on by turning the sink towards the left. Fill up both sides of the bowl and bring it to your table with both hands. Using a pinch of water on both sides will prevent any big spills, and you can always get more water or clean out your water bowls. When using watercolors, we use soft natural hair brushes. These brushes will absorb a good amount of water and help get those pigments in the watercolor pans going. What kinds of paints are we using today? That's right, watercolors. So mostly it's water and pigment. When using a paint that's watery, there are a couple of materials that we can use that won't spread. For example, Sharpies and India ink are permanent inks that won't spread with water as long as they're fully dry on your paper. Another material we can use that won't spread with water is wax crayon. Another medium that resists water are oil pastels. Oil pastels are fantastic for color, layering, and adding depth to your work. When creating, think about what you want your art to look like. If you're looking for a sharp line, what might you use? What about a line that smudges? Then you could use, as you can see in this example, I've used Sharpie, India ink, oil pastels, and crayons to give my artwork some color and outline. In all of my spaces, I'm leaving white space so that the watercolors that I use will be absorbed by the paper. For the sake of time, I'm going to fast forward the video to watercolors. I've now cleaned up my area and put all my drawing materials away, and I have two kinds of watercolors out: watercolor pans and liquid watercolors that are in ice cube trays. The liquid watercolors are fantastic. They're very vibrant and they're highly concentrated. So you want to make sure you have a very good wet brush, dip it in the water, dip just the tip in the pigment, and spread on your paper. Here I'm using a watercolor wash with lots of water and a little bit of pigment and spreading it around. The more water I use, the lighter the color. The darker I want the color, the more pigment I would use. You can always layer watercolors like nail polish. When creating a resist, I prefer the pans. They resist the oil pastels and crayons a little bit better than the liquid watercolors. I'm using my brush, I'm tickling the water, I'm tickling the pan, and I'm tickling my paper. If you're ever forcing your brush to bend or bending your bristles, you're using way too much pressure. Another fun effect is when you use white crayons or oil pastels and use enough pressure and paint over them with the watercolors, you'll have fun details in white. When it's time to clean up, keep your artwork on the paint mat and slide the paint mat onto the drying rack. Put all of your materials away, rinse out your pet bowls and your brush.